In Frankfurt, Germany, Sara is at a playground with her little son Josh, when she hears a helicopter moving in the sky. Suddenly she starts to get a flashback of her time during an operation in Afghanistan. During that moment, a guy having an argument with his friends bumps into her, so she pushes him. This escalates into a fight, and she easily takes him down, punching him in the face. She quickly realizes what she's doing after looking at her son, so she leaves the guy and apologizes. Few years later, Sara takes her son with her for a job appointment when she gets a notification on her phone. Listening to it, the sender introduces himself as an investigative journalist, and he's calling because he has new material concerning what happened to her in Afghanistan. He adds that he's sent her video evidence of what he's talking about via email and would be waiting to get her feedback once she's done watching it. Sara starts to watch the video but doesn't understand anything, so she looks around and notices that her son is missing. She panics, and thankfully, Josh is just standing idle in a corner. She quickly goes to him and tells him to always stay by her side because she doesn't want to lose him. Few minutes later, they arrive at the American consulate building. It turns out she got a job to work at a security firm in America and wants to travel to the country to start the job and bring her son closer to his father's family, who was also an American killed during an operation in Afghanistan. She hasn't recovered from the loss but still does her best to get by. After filling out the paperwork and waiting for their flight, Josh keeps playing around, and Sara has to take him to a kid's room to play momentarily while she waits in the hall for their flight number to be called. When they finally do, Sara quickly rushes back to get her son, but when she gets to the playground, she doesn't find Josh. She starts looking around while calling his name, but still nothing. Now she's starting to lose herself and reports the incident to the security team, telling them that her son might be inside one of the offices. The security team has no clearance to search the rooms, so she's brought to Mr. Kink, the head of regional security. He opens the offices for her to look for her son, but after checking several rooms, she still can't find him. She begins to cry and blames herself for leaving him alone for those few minutes. Mr. Kink shares a story about his own little daughter to help calm her down and promises they will help find her son. A whole security team is then sent out to look for the child in every corner of the building, yet nothing. Sara remembers seeing a man and a woman with a bag and thinks they might have something to do with her missing son. She begs Kink to open the door behind her, but he refuses, saying it's a high security area. He takes her to his office, where he looks through her job resume and learns that she's a veteran and thanks her for her service. Donovan, who's one of the security officers, tells Sara that she alone came into the building this morning. Sara insists it's a lie and she's sure she came in with her son. Donovan gives her the list of people that checked in for the day, and only her name is found. She doesn't believe that the list is correct and points out that her son played around the hall and even met with people, including him, the security officer, but he denies it. She argues that the surveillance camera could have picked up something, but Donovan says he has checked and it was only her walking into the consulate building. She's then forced to call to the German police to report her missing child, and they tell her they've already heard about it. However, the German police are not authorized to enter the consulate, as it is considered an extraterritorial building, and the Germans have no jurisdiction to enter. For now she has to come out of the building and they will sort things out. Sara refuses and points out that once she goes out, she won't be allowed back in and won't be able to find her son. Seeing that there's no way forward in the conversation, Sara ends the call and tries to fight her way out of the office, only to get tackled to the ground by Kinch. Forced to sit down and wait for the German police to take her from the consulate, Sara is left with Donovan, but he gets a call and rushes to attend to it. Seizing the opportunity, Sara picks the lock and opens the door to escape. To avoid getting caught by the building security, she climbs out the window and tries to jump to the other side but falls to the ground. Breaking in through a vent, she gets into the building through another hallway and enters a guest room. There, she finds Irina, a Russian lady who's being held there as a political refugee. Seeing that Sara can actually move around the building without getting caught, Irina offers to help her in exchange for assistance in getting out of the building. The news of Sara roaming around the building gets the attention of the consulate general, Deborah. After going through her file, the general wants her arrested immediately, but Kink argues that it isn't necessary. He states that arresting her would cause significant damage to her reputation as a soldier and insists he will handle it himself. Sara deduces that the only way to smuggle someone out of the building would be through a warehouse in the building, and her only suspects are the two individuals carrying a bag from earlier. She manages to take out a guard and grab his keycard so they can move around the building easily. They manage to get into a secluded room, and Sara notices one of the storage units has a symbol similar to the one from the bag she saw the guys from earlier exchange. She breaks the lock, and when she opens the bag, she finds some happy powders and deduces that they are just smugglers. The duo returns to the guest room with a bag, and Sara thinks that maybe her son saw something during the exchange, which is why they took him to silence him. Now armed with this theory, Sara wants to meet with the authorities to hand over the drugs, but Irina stops her, warning that if she does, there's no way she can get out of the building. The two get into a heated argument when a knock on the door interrupts them. Irina goes to check, and two Russian assassins burst through the door to attack her. Luckily, Sara is just around the corner, so she starts to fight one of them. Unfortunately, she gets punched in the face and has a momentary relapse. She quickly gets back up, and with her close quarters combat skills, she is able to knock out the first guy. Irina manages to create a makeshift flamethrower, which burns the other guy, allowing Sara to take him out. While trying to follow up on Irina, Sara gets cornered by Donovan, and she's injected with a tranquilizer which causes her to pass out. When Sara wakes up, she finds herself tied to a bed. She immediately starts to explain everything to Deborah, including the encounter with Irina. Deborah replies, saying she's concerned about her, and mentions that her mom called earlier to report that Sara has a medical condition that causes her delusions. She claims that Sara's assertions about being with her son and her encounter with Irina never happened. Sara doesn't believe this and requests at least the camera footage to prove that what she's saying is true. Kink shows her the camera footage, and it just shows her all alone walking around the building and beating up a security guard. Deborah suggests that maybe she's just imagining things and tells her that the German police will be there in the morning and everything will be resolved as she falls back into a trance. When she wakes up a second time, it's Irina pretending to be a staff member while trying to set her free. Sara, now doubting her senses, asks if she's real. To prove she's real, Irina tells her about her past. They were once the richest family in Belarus. Her father was a known criminal involved in money laundering and was a government official. When he switched parties, this terrified his former group, and they ended up killing him. If she hadn't made it to the American embassy in Minsk with the help of the CIA, she would have been killed too. The thumb drive she's been hiding has all the evidence, and the Russian agents want it back. Now she's been stuck there for months, and lately, Donovan came to ask her for her passports, which is when she knew that something wasn't right. Sara still doesn't believe she's real after the evidence on the camera footage, so Irina has to try to hurt herself to prove her point. Sara stops her, and they end up leaving the room through the window to avoid being spotted by surveillance cameras. They make it through a crowd of people, and no one notices them until they find themselves in a conference room. Irina is able to send a post to the consulate through their internet connection, hoping whoever owns the duffel bag will come and get it. Shortly after, they get a notification from Jumer, asking them to meet. They conclude to meet at the cafeteria since it's where they would least expect them to be. When they meet with the owner of the drugs, he promises that once he gets his package, he will take her to see his son. At that moment, Sara notices something is off and concludes that he's lying and doesn't know where his son is. So she asks for his help to find his son since he has high security clearance as an IT personnel for the consulate. She needs a floor plan to the compound and a key card that allows her all access to the building if he wants to get the bag back. He tells her to meet at the men's room after 20 minutes. At that moment, Sara spots Kink with his daughter on the other side of the cafeteria, but his attention is soon called into the surveillance room because they lost the camera signals. He leaves quickly without noticing he left his daughter's walkie-talkie there, promising to give it back when this is all over. In the men's bathroom, the IT guy tells Sara that he was able to deploy malware into their server, so they have 1 hour to do whatever they want before the cameras come back up. He gives her the floor map and the key card, and in return, they give him the bag because he needs to explain to his superiors how Sara got his key card. She punches him to make it look like she attacked him for it. Since Donovan is the closest they can get to finding Josh, the duo heads to his office and starts checking his computer. They are shocked to find a series of files that contain all the details on how Sara got to the consulate building. It turns out that everything was planned all along. They decide to do a background check on the higher-ups of the consulate employees, where they learn that Kink was also a military officer who fought in Afghanistan and was a regional specialist in Islamabad, Pakistan. This means that the video she got on her phone from the beginning is trying to tell her something. Sara decides to call the journalist who sent her the video footage to gain more clarity. The journalist tells her that Kink was a corrupt specialist, and every time they tried to pin him down for his crimes, he gets exonerated. Now, his news source claims that Kink is responsible for the attack in Afghanistan that ended the lives of 8 soldiers, including her husband. While they talk, they don't notice Donovan is already making his way to the office, so they hurriedly download a clearer screenshot of the moment Kink was together with a terrorist. Sara rushes to attack Donovan so they can escape from the office. Donovan chases after them, but they manage to make it out through an opening that takes them to the roof of the consulate building. Irina brings out the clearer image of the Islamabad incident, and she recalls seeing the man with Kink during the fight in Afghanistan, but he was supposedly dead. The news of Sara getting the emails reaches Kink, and he goes out for her. At the warehouse, Sara tells Irina she can make her way out of the consulate by hiding in the back of the truck while she distracts the armed soldiers. Sara runs towards a van to hijack it, giving Irina the chance to get to the truck. Unfortunately, a barrage of bullets causes her to crash the van, so now she has to run the ventilation systems. After fighting off some security guards, she tries to catch her breath, only for Kink to attack her. He hits her several times before they fall into the swimming pool. He tries to drown her, but Sara manages to escape his grip and Kink goes after her. She finds his gun and points it at him, demanding to know the whereabouts of her son. Kink confesses that he has her son and that he's fine for now. Sara then asks why he kidnapped him and reveals that she knows about his conspiracy with a terrorist in Islamabad. Concerned about finding her son at the moment, Sara hits him with the gun and goes to look for him. She changes her clothes to blend in, with only 4 minutes remaining before the server comes back up. She creates a makeshift explosive that detonates on one of the floors. This explosion reaches Deborah, and she orders Kink to follow the military protocol, and Kink sends out his men to find Sara and shoot her on sight. All civilians in the building are immediately evacuated, and Sara finds Aileen, Kink's daughter. She shows her the walkie-talkie they left behind, luring her to believe that her father sent her to take care of her. Sara takes Aileen with her to a safe room and calls Kink to inform him about their location. Kink gets to the other side of the safe room, where Sara tells him to get his daughter. They have to make an exchange, and lastly, he has to confess to his crimes. She adds that the safe has reinforced steel, meaning it can only be opened from the inside, and blowing it up would risk hurting his daughter. Drilling it wouldn't be an option because, before they're done, they would run out of oxygen. If he wants to see his daughter alive, he should show her his son. Deborah tries to negotiate with her to let the little girl out, but Sara refuses, saying she has no idea what Kink is hiding from them. She speaks with Kink begging him to bring her son to her, but he proves to be stubborn. Unable to bear holding a little girl hostage, Sara decides to let her free under the condition that Kink joins her in the safe room for a dialogue. After the exchange, Sara begs Kink that she doesn't mind if she loses her life so he can keep his secret. The only thing she wants is for him to at least release his son and take him to his mother. Kink, instead, turns off the intercom so that the people outside won't hear them. He reveals to Sara that she wasn't supposed to make it this far. He also mentions that they were the ones who got her the job to work in America so she could come to the consulate. Everything was working according to their plans, but they underestimated her when she killed the 2 assassins that were supposed to take her and Irina out at the guest room. He had to kidnap her son and erase the footage from the camera to make it look like she was crazy, a perfect scapegoat to pin the death of the political refugee on. Sara deduces that while she's on the run, he can easily kill her as the only witness to the incident in Afghanistan. That's why he wanted her here in the first place, to make it look like she's the one behind Irina's assassination. He shoots her, then shoots himself and gives her the gun. He scurries out of the safe room while screaming that she has his gun. Losing so much blood, her life flashes before her eyes as she remembers the moment she was in Afghanistan alongside her husband. The operation was going according to plan until they were ambushed, and everyone lost their lives that day except her. In reality, she doesn't give up and manages to get to the door before it gets shredded. It turns out she was recording her conversation with Kink all this while and plays it through the intercom where everyone can hear it. With this, Donovan runs away while Kink gets arrested. A team is sent out to rescue Josh, and Sara finally reunites with her son. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the video and would love to see more from this channel, please like and subscribe.